how does a meter in, meter out hydraulic circuit works. First, let's say we have a hydraulic cylinder. We're gonna draw a hydraulic cylinder over here. That's an awesome hydraulic cylinder. Then you have a directional control valve. So you have a 3-position 4-way. Let's say we're gonna draw open center as an open center valve. This is the pressure. And this is tank. This is A. This is B. So you have directional control valve, and you need to control the speed of the cylinder. You need to connect this cylinder over here to this directional control valve, and you want to control the speed of the cylinder. And one way to do it is to put on a meter in or meter out valve. Basically what it is a directional control, is a check valve system with a needle valve. So what you do if you want to meter it in, you have a check valve over here. Usually these check valves, they already have a needle valve integrated into the system, into these valves. So you have a check valve over here with a needle valve already integrated. You connect one to here, and you connect the other one over here, and you have a connection of these valves. Now, when the valve shifts in this way, actually, in this position, in a normal position, the oil is going to go down to the reservoir in the neutral position. That's one way to do it if you want to use it with a open center valve, because the low pressure over here, the flow is going to go through the path of least resistance. So it may be feeling some pressure into A and B, but for the most part, all the oil is just going to be dumped to the tank. It's just going to be mostly open flow to the reservoir in this position. But then you have and you shift to position A in this circuit. When you shift to port A, it goes from the pressure to port A. Fluid goes through or try to go through the check valve, but the check valve in this position is closed. So it cannot go through the check valve. It has to go through the restriction that you put on the needle valve. If the needle valve is all the way closed, then it doesn't go anywhere, and it has to go through a relief valve somewhere over here. You know, it has to dump to a relief valve somewhere out there. But if you have some restriction on the oil to a certain pressure that is going to be lower than the relief valve setting, then some of the fluid is going to start going through the cylinder, and now the cylinder starts to extend. And it extends. The speed of the extension of the cylinder is going to depend on the amount of fluid that you allow to go through the needle valve. So the more fluid, the more you open the valve, the more free flow goes through the cylinder, and the faster it's going to extend depending on the flow rate of the pump. If you start closing this valve, you lower the flow volume, and the cylinder has a lower or a lower extension time, a smaller extension time. What's the right word to use? It doesn't extend as fast because it's less fluid going through. Now, that's when the fluid is coming into the cylinder. On the way out of the cylinder, you have this valve over here. Now the check valve is open. Comes over here, it goes through the check valve pretty much on free flow, and it goes back to the reservoir. it shifted in this position. B is connected to tank on this position, and it goes back to the reservoir. Now you do it the other way, it's just the same thing happen. The valve shift, pressure is now connected to port B. Port B tries to go through the check valve closed, the needle, it has to go through the restriction of the check valve. You meter in the flow going into the cylinder on retract. Cylinder start retracting depending on the amount of fluid that you allow it to pass, and the fluid coming in the other direction. Now it goes flow open through the check valve, and it goes back to the reservoir because now B is connected to the reservoir, and it goes back to the reservoir. So that is a meter in system, a circuit. Meter in. Now guess what? What if you wanted to do a meter out? Well, the only difference that you do on a meter out circuit is now, instead of having this check valve in this position, you put it out in the other position. Now let's say this check valve over here, this check valve doesn't exist anymore. It's not there. And instead you put a check valve in the other direction, and now you have free flow going in and restriction going out. And that is, you shift it in one way, and either way that you shift it, either way this valve is going to be shifted, you're always going to have free flow going into the cylinder and restriction going out. So that is a meter out circuit that you have in this other position. So that is a meter in, meter out circuit, and that's how it works. So if you have any questions, that's the video for today. If you have any questions about hydraulics or other industrial components, you are always free to send us an email, website, somewhere out there in the video. Thank you very much for your attention, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.